Hey everybody, attorney Bill Harrington here. Today we are going to talk about the implied warranty of habitability. These are a set of very important rights that Pennsylvania tenants have to a decent, safe, and clean place to live. So let's get into it. The first thing to understand is that this warranty is implied in every lease in Pennsylvania. Whether written down explicitly or not, the implied warranty of habitability exists. Further, the landlord cannot include any language that will waive this right. So they can't force a tenant to sign something that says, you don't have the right to sue me if your place is full of cockroaches. That clause would not be enforceable in PA. Again, the tenant has the right, irrespective of anything that's in the lease. Some examples of what would make an apartment or a leased premises not habitable. Some of the things are obvious. If you have an insect infestation, if you have a leaky roof, if your electrical system is a fire hazard, or if the electricity doesn't work. If you have a sewage system that doesn't function as it should, that can be a violation. If the AC or the heat doesn't work, that can be a violation. If the landlord is responsible for maintaining the refrigerator and you can't store food because the refrigerator is broken, that too can be a violation. This is not an exhaustive list by any means, but it gives you an idea of some of the general categories of violations that can occur. They generally affect the safety and health of the leased premises. Now, what does not get included are cosmetic things. A crack in the wall that's not a structural issue, peeling paint or stained carpet or an ugly carpet or an ugly colored paint. Those are cosmetic things. The landlord does not have any duty to repair. If you have a water stain on the roof and the leak behind it got fixed and there's no active leak there anymore, that's probably going to be considered cosmetic. Now, of course, if the water stain there is because your plumbing is busted or your roof is leaky, that's a different thing. A lot of these things are fact specific, so be sure you take down diligent notes and you talk to your attorney about this. So, what do you do if you feel that your place is not habitable? Well, the first and most important thing you have to do is give your landlord notice, and you have to document that notice. Landlord can't fix anything that they don't know about. You have to give the landlord notice of something wrong. And in addition, you have to give the landlord a reasonable amount of time to fix the problem. Now, how long is reasonable? That's going to depend on what the problem is. If it's a busted pipe and it's a simple matter of repairing that specific pipe, that might not take quite as long as rewiring the entire apartment or something along those lines. So be sure you document all the notice you've given, how long it's taken the landlord to respond, did they respond, what kind of efforts did they make, and bring all of this to your attorney so that they can make the assessment whether you have a case for the violation of the implied warranty of habitability. Now, you also must be able to show that the landlord was either unwilling or unable to make the repairs. This goes back to giving the landlord a reasonable amount of time. You can't notify somebody that the entire electrical system is a fire hazard on Monday and expect it to be completed by Wednesday. But the key issue there is that the landlord either couldn't or wouldn't fix the issue. So let's say that in fact the landlord failed to meet this standard. What can you do as a tenant? You can either vacate the premises and move out, in which case you'll be entitled to your security deposit. You can withhold all or part of your rent, which you then must place in escrow. You got to place it somewhere else until the situation with the defect gets figured out. You can repair the item yourself, and you can deduct the cost of those repairs from your next month's rent. Or you can file a lawsuit to seek compensation for this defect. Sometimes you compel the landlord to make those fixes. Now, here is where the notice provisions and following those procedures is extremely important. Let's say you see a cockroach crawling across your floor. You can't just not pay the rent and expect that to be okay. If you didn't notify the landlord and didn't give them enough time to deal with the infestation, they can file a suit to evict you if you haven't paid your rent. So you absolutely have to follow those procedures. You have to give the notice before you withhold rent or deduct money from rent for your own repairs. Otherwise, you're just in violation of the lease. You have to take those first steps, as frustrating as it might be, before you can safely engage in some of the remedies tenants have.